GameSir has just hit us with another one. With the T4K DJ Kaleid. Not to correct you, my Sheikah, but it's actually Kaleid. What makes this $40 gamepad special is it's one of the few on the market that has magnetic Hall effect thumbstick modules that will never get stick drift. But unfortunately, like every other offering we've seen with anti-stick drift thumbstick module technology, it's only on the Switch platform. But before you run off, you can also use this on PC, where while you're shucking and jiving stick drift, you're also enjoying mechanical face buttons, a class-leading D-pad, two very highly ranked rear buttons, and cosmetically what has got to be one of the sickest looking gamepads I've had in hand in a while. Now, as per usual here at GamerHeaven, we're going to review this controller on a multitude of categories including D-pad, warranty, face buttons, and the software suite to find out if it's the right gamepad for your needs. And if you see me looking a little bit scrappy, a little homeless, like I just crawled out of a dumpster throughout the review, because I just got this gamepad in hand, spent a relentless amount of hours diddling with it on Switch and PC, got a couple hours of sleep, popped out of bed, and rolled right into this review, shooting and editing. I hope you enjoy it, because I thoroughly enjoyed this gamepad. Let's get it. This is your controller captain. We've reached 6,900 feet. Go ahead and start flicking the sticks and mollywopping the back paddles. You don't like back paddles? How about those rear buttons? We've tested almost 100 custom and premium controllers, and we're only at the beginning. You need a thumbstick guide or a tutorial on how to overclock your controller? Check out the controller playlist. Bing bong. Controller captain out. A quick disclaimer for my audience, the Stallions and Stallionettes. This controller was sent for review, but this is going to be an honest, comprehensive review. I haven't been paid or told to say anything about it, so if there's any cons, shortcomings, or areas of improvement, you're going to hear about it. So these companies make better products over time. As for the packaging and included accessories on GameSir's $40 Kaleid, they're multi-platform wired controller. What are the platforms? Basically just Switch and PC. They gotta sweeten the deal a little bit, sprinkle a little Splenda on there, and garnish it up by saying multi-platform. PC is always going to have support. You can always force some driver compatibility, and this controller does have mobile support, but again, most Bluetooth cell phones and controllers will have compatibility with each other, so really, it's a Switch controller with PC compatibility, which you could have guessed because this has magnetic Hall effect thumbstick modules, which we're only seeing on the Switch platform, unfortunately. Team Green and Royal Blue haven't gotten a taste of that sugar yet. What you can do is actually solder your own modules. Who really wants to do that? I know I sure as heck don't. That's why I haven't made a video on it yet. If you wanted to pause the box to read some of the key features, you may do that now. Pretty small box, pretty light controller inside. I'm not expecting a whole hell of a lot in the means of, okay, that's kind of cool. You've got GameSir kind of punched out with Nana's sewing machine or something, a needlepoint. Beautiful. Up top, you are going to have your included USB-C cable. This is a wired controller, so the quality of this really does matter. Considering you're going to be using this for more than just charging and pairing, not going to be your best friend, I can tell you that right now, because it is relatively short. I'm guessing about 6 foot. The golden standard should absolutely be 10 feet. If it is a wired only controller. Of course, you have the option of going wired with a wireless controller. We do it all the time on the channel, but for golly jeepers sakes, 6 foot cable on a mandatory gotta go wired controller, but the cable itself is relatively high quality, pretty flexible and lightweight. Braided. No dust covers on the USB-C or A end. However, you do have the GameSir logo, the little cockle-doodle-doo, how the hell do you do, stamped on there. Little Velcro tie back you're probably going to want to hold on to. One of the ones that stays permanently affixed, and it does have the GameSir branding. Oh, I see a clear controller in there, translucent, that smoked haze, if you will, that glaze of mayonnaise. There we go. I like when I just throw that all willy-nilly on camera and then knowing damn well I'm just going to have to clean it up as soon as I'm off camera. This looks super sick. I'm jumping ahead of myself in the cosmetics section, but wowzers, this looks really cool. It's going to be a quote on the GameSir website. It's right there on the banner. It looks effing sick at GamerHeaven. Articulate reviews over there. You're going to have a little plastic baggie which holds a 1/4 ounce of goodies, your documentation, what looks to be a little guitar pick, which is actually a quality control pass sticker. You have a little trifold with the plug for the socials, a couple of QR codes. I'm going to hold it out in front of me. And if you want to scan any of those with your smartphone, you know, maybe you're watching this on your smartphone. How the hell do you do it? I think you just hold down on it and pinch and zoom, or you double tap on the side of your phone or something. I don't know. But if you're watching me on your TV or desktop, very easy. Just pull your phone out, scan the QR code. You're on that website. Now, if I was a betting woman, I would say that this is going to be your instruction manual, pamphlet, or brochure. Oof. Fantastic. So along the lines of 8-bit dough, just a horrendous layout here. English is going to be over here. Nope, that's French. Where is English? Where's my native tongue? There she is. All right, English is going to be right here. Very small font, very tiny pictures, but if you want a more detailed instruction manual, well, it's actually the same thing, but in a PDF document, you can scan this QR code here. People don't need that because they have this video and you can follow along with that. I'm going to show you how to rebind those rear buttons and everything else you might want to do with this controller. As for the cosmetics or appearance of this GameSir, it looks fantastic, even not plugged in, with this translucent or smoked haze down here, and then fully clear right here with a black PCB with gold trim. Not a huge fan fan of the multicolored lettering on the face buttons, but hey, beggars cannot be choosers, and I guess I'm a beggar. They sent this to me for free. Alms for the poor. Gamepad's here. Thank you for sending it out. Wowzers, that is comfortable as shnikes. Ooh, okay, this has a lot going for it. Compatibility with consoles that I play on, not one of them, unfortunately. Oh my golly, everything I touch there's something special going on every surface I touch. Anyway, let's plug this in so I can keep going with those cosmetics. Pretty deep trough or cutout for the USB-C cable, so if you're using your own, you need to make sure that you don't have a bulky housing or it simply will not fit. I'm gonna cut some lights. Oh my lord. Now, like a lot of gamepads, this has some pre-built controls that you can control by holding down the mode button. Pressing up and down on the D-pad will increase or decrease the vibration of those rumble force motors in the palm, which you can see doing their thing. And I will say I love how silent they are. You get that deep, low-frequency rumble, however, you don't have that high-pitched buzzing sound that sounds like an electric toothbrush on some cheaper gamepads with thinner plastics. By holding down the mode button and then tapping one of the triggers, that will engage or disengage a hair trigger mode, so even though there's no physical trigger stops, you can engage a software or digital, if you will, built into the controller, hair trigger mode, where you only need to pull the trigger a very slight amount before it actuates and does the desired action on screen, probably shooting your gun. Holding down the mode button and going left and right on the analog stick, the left analog stick will scroll through the 4 available lighting modes. Pressing up and down on the left stick will dim and brighten the lights. That's completely off. That is its dimmest setting in a dimly lit room. And that is its brightest setting in a dimly lit room. And then a pretty useful feature, if you hold down M and tap A, it will swap A and B and X and Y. So if you're playing this on the Switch, you obviously want the Switch layout, but then you go on PC, you're playing standardized layout that PlayStation and Xbox use, where this is select and this is go back or cancel. Then you can make that switch on the PCB, on the controller itself. That's neato Toledo. Now this controller also has turbo function. Say for example, I want it on this Y button. You hold down M, press Y, it is now engaged. Then to disengage it, do the exact same thing. Now if you wanted to clear all turbo function, maybe you mapped it to 5 or 6 buttons, just double tap the M button and it will turn off all turbo mapping. In case you don't know what turbo is, it'll spam or repeat press a button for you as you just hold it down. So if you have a grindy, repetitive task, like maybe farming, you can do that. Or if you weren't raised right, you can try and use it in online multiplayer and still get slapped sideways because you're still not good at the fundamentals of the game. But as far as the real world comfort, is this a comfortable controller when you fan your fingers out and hold the haunches close? Yes, it is an extremely comfortable controller. I'm telling you, recently I've been testing some very comfortable controllers between the Astro C40, which yes, I know has been around since 2019, then the PowerA Fusion 3, which literally pulls a full 180 from its predecessor, which was a real garbage pail, comfort-wise that is. And now we have another one with the DJ Kaleid over here. Another one. Feels very good in the hand because you have this grippy stippling on the back, which strikes a good balance of comfort and grip. I hear a lot about this grip in the comment section. I don't know what you're doing with your controller where grip is a major factor, but you're gonna have quite a bit of it here. The shape or shell design is virtually the same as an Xbox One or Series controller, so that's a good thing. This does have the offset thumbsticks, which virtually all Switch Pro controllers have. I'm trying to think, I haven't really tested any symmetrical stick controllers for Switch. In case you're wondering what's going on up here, I just rolled right out of bed and right into this review. And then this translucent faceplate is also incredibly smooth on the hand. I'm gonna give comfort yet another 10 out of 10. I'm telling you, it's been like 3 concurrent controller reviews getting 10 out of 10s in the comfort section. That's not usual. You'd ask my regulars around here. You gotta work for those. Okay. As for perceived build quality, it's actually pretty decent. I will say there is no creaks or moans and groans, and this actually feels a lot more secure than a lot of controllers I have tested recently, even in a higher price point. That also extends to these rear buttons, which are very nice and clicky. Then you've got these mechanical face buttons, a very high quality D-pad. Even this top section with this cheaper plastic doesn't really offend me because there's no major panel gaps. Feels pretty well buttoned down. Actually very impressed getting this controller in hand. I'm gonna give build quality an 8 out of 10. And if you do want to disassemble or tear down this controller to repair or customize, you do have 6 T6 screws. So unlike the Xbox controllers, which have 5 T8s, this has 6 T6s. This janky warranty policy and return page still exists on their website. It hasn't been revised since the review of the G7 controller, and it does read incredibly confusing, but all you need to know is that there is a 12-month or 1-year standardized warranty if you purchase this this controller in North America, and if you are overseas in the UK, you probably have a much better warranty system in place. As for the D-pad or direction buttons, I am freakishly impressed, not only at the price point, but even if this was a more expensive premium controller, impressive, as it has its own little pedestal or dish on the PCB. I'm going to overlay some B-roll, some close-ups, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about, but my golly, it is incredibly secure as opposed to almost all other membrane D-pads, which have a squishy little rubber plunger mechanism underneath the front faceplate and feel like sheer and utter garbage. What do I mean by that? Well, when you press down on right, it lifts up on left, everything just mushes together. God forbid you're a fighter player, you play a lot of beat-em-ups, you know what I'm talking about. You're trying to get accurate, precise gates for each one of those 8 steps, so you know, yup, that's down left, or yes, that's up right. I'm gonna hit that combo I'm trying to smack my friend with. And you can't do that with most standard gamepads. This bad boy is something else. You have this pretty grippy plastic, as it is flat and matte, it's not gloss or piano black, and it has a nice distinct step for each one of the 4 directions, and then smaller little gates or notches for the diagonal inputs. This is one of the best, if not the best, membrane D-pads that I've tested ever. 8 out of 10. This is literally getting up there with the mechanical D-pads that I've been testing. 8 out of 10. A GameSir? A yes, sir. As for the face or action buttons, it's put me in the action because these are mechanical switches on a $40 controller. Now, this isn't unheard of. I did test the, again, from GameSir G7, a wired Xbox controller. This is a wired Switch and PC controller. So if you're looking for a controller that shares these mechanical face buttons in a $40 wired gamepad for Xbox, the GameSir G7 is a fantastic gamepad. Cosmetically, not a big fan of the multicolor lettering. Also, the shape is pretty rounded like standard Xbox buttons, but since these are mechanical, they are buttery smooth, very quick to actuate, also require a good amount of resistance. They're not overly light switches. Do they have a tap life cycle? Are they rated for a certain amount of millions of clicks? Good question, popping up on screen here. And overlaying a little bit more of that close-up B-roll, you can get a look at those face buttons. They also have a raised pedestal with a secondary PCB for their actuators for the 4 face buttons. So I really do like the GameSir design here. It looks like they've really put some work into the R&D of this controller, and you can tell. I will say these buttons feel either very close together or very small. It's close together because they are standard Xbox sizing, but my God, they feel close together. I'm pressing all 4 of the buttons effortlessly with my skinny little thumb. Give them let's make it a 9, actually. A lot of gamers would actually prefer having the buttons close together like that. Maybe you got small hands, or maybe you're playing fighting games where you kind of want to be able to multi-press. This is good. 9 out of 10 respectively. Now, as for the accessory button suite, I do like that the GameSir logo lights up with RGB and matches the side panels, and I do think that these buttons are in a good place, raised far enough from the front shell, and guess what? They're mechanical as well. Or at least tactile and clicky. They might be membrane, but they still feel mechanical. That's what this controller's telling me. Tell me your story. And also, more of that close-up B-roll, there's a little rubberized pad, which I'm assuming is some kind of sound insulation, like a silencer for the accessory buttons. Love to see that. I'm gonna give the accessory button suite an 8 out of 10. Now, as for the thumbsticks, analog sticks, joysticks, or front niblets, the first thing that needs mention is that these are magnetic Hall effect modules, so the chance of you getting stick drift is, well, it's pretty much non-existent, because there is no physical components getting worn down like that carbon strike plate on potentiometer modules. Rather, it's the connectivity of magnets being broken or separated that is telling the thumbsticks that you're moving them. Because of that inherent design, stick drift is a non-issue. Your controller would shit out 6 times over from other components failing, such as the face buttons. Well, these are mechanical, but other things on the controller would break. You would probably pass this on to a future generation. Maybe they'd pass it on to their grandkids before the tale of stick drift would be told. I just wanted to clarify that because I've heard a couple of comments here and there by saying, well, actually, you can get stick drift on magnetic Hall effect modules and whatnot. I'm actually going to do a more in-depth video where I disassemble or tear down magnetic Hall effect modules from Ghoulie Kit. They're going to send me out a little kit because they're sweet like that. And then also some traditional potentiometer modules from an Elite Series 2 controller and a standard Xbox controller. We're going to look at the physical differences. We're going to test that on PC, and then we're going to talk about the science behind it so I can debunk some of these wives' tales that I'm hearing. I don't know who these wives are, but they're always telling tales that are incorrect and whatnot. These are awesome because you're not going to get stick drift. You do not have anti-friction rings around the outside of the thumbstick gates, but it's still pretty smooth plastic at full lock, so I do like to see that. Clicking down L3 and R3 feels pretty secure, relatively quiet. These are very short concave sticks. Now, I know we generally meaning always, do the KontrolFreeks compatibility over there on the desk, but I forgot that section, so we're going to do it right here because my cake's already parked really comfortable over here. These are Omnis for Xbox One and Series. I'm a pretty strong boy. I've been eating my spinach and everything, and I can't do it, not without damaging these caps. I don't feel comfortable uncomfortable. They're too tight. These are Red Infernos for Nintendo Switch, and it is a bit of a struggle. You have to get pretty rough and nasty and use some elbow grease to get them on, but once you do, these are incredibly secure, and it almost feels like they're meant perfectly for them. These are White Galaxies for PS4 and 5. A little bit looser than the Switches. In fact, I actually prefer these because it's less of a struggle to get them on, and they just barely rotate. You have to really force them to rotate, so they're perfect. Over here in Gamepad Tester, we do have a visual representation of axes 0, 1, 2, and 5, which is the vertical and horizontal movement on the left and right sticks. As you see, when I'm moving to and fro and then I stop, they always snap back to 0.00392, which is a perfect resting value for magnetic Hall effect sensors. Notice 0.00002, I think that was the right amount of zeros, is a common resting value for well-calibrated potentiometer thumbsticks, and 00392 is a good resting value for magnetic Hall effect modules in my experience. Now, you can obviously tamper, tweak, and enhance thumbstick results in a program like DS4 Windows or Rewazd. However, if I hide my face for just a tick, I'm not running any of those programs right now, and these are the results right out of the box. Very responsive too, as I just barely feather over them. I am getting my movements registered, but I'm a visual learner. I want those circles in there so I can run that circularity test. So it is an unsupported device in Rewazd. You have to keep in mind, Rewazd is not a perfect application and doesn't have compatibility for all gamepads. That'd be awesome. And DS4 Windows also doesn't work because this is not a PlayStation controller. Oh, there's an update. Heck yes, I want the latest version, brother. After the update, no controllers connected, which is a load of horse hockey because I'm connected to this PC right now. It's not a PlayStation controller, which is what DS4 Windows is all about. I'm gonna give these thumbsticks a 10 out of 10. Repeat, a 10 out of 10, because we're setting a trend here, which I'd like to see followed by more controller manufacturers, and that is magnetic Hall effect modules. Could we see this on the Xbox and PlayStation side of the house? Please. We're in 2023 now. We've been using potentiometer modules for about 3 decades now. Actually, a little bit longer. It's cheap technology, I get that, but jeepers. All right, my Huskaroo. As for the bumpers, they're actually pretty sweet. As with most bumpers, it's going to take more strength if you like to press them with the tip of your finger up here, but as most gamers use the meat of the index finger to press the middle or side, they do feel very good. It is flat matte plastic up here, so not gloss or piano black. I love to see that. You do also have that ribbed or stippling up here, which Microsoft introduced on their Xbox Series controllers. I do wish these had just slightly more resistance. Also, there's a little bit of a cheap hollow sound when you pull them all the way down and then let them snap up, which you pretty much would never do in game, but this is what it sounds like. And there is no trigger stops. However, there's that software zero dead zone mode, holding down mode and then tapping one of the triggers, where you only need to pull them very slightly to actuate it in game, but still you have all that dead end take up or slop after you've shot your gun in game. It'd be nice if there were some physical trigger stops here as well, but these don't offend me in any way. I'm going to give the triggers a 7 out of 10. As for the 2 rear buttons, I am actually a massive fan because the buttons themselves are massive and very easy to press. I'd like it if there were 2 more, but that's simply not the case here, as this is a 2 rear button design. However, they are very tactile and clicky. They sound great, they feel great, they look great, they work great. You can rebind them on the fly. There really is no complaints here. What I like to see is that they are damn near flush with that rear shell. We're kind of getting away from these massive boat oars, these paddles that these controller companies like Scuf have been doing for years, and kind of moving towards these buttons because they're more efficient, quicker to actuate, less likely to break. They're not sticking off the controller waiting to be snapped off, and most importantly, more comfortable because you can still hold the controller like the manufacturer intended, but have access to rear inputs that allow you to keep your fingers on the thumbsticks moving and aiming and sending people back to the lobby. To rebind those rear buttons, it is very simple. You are going to need to be plugged into a console or PC to get power to this controller, as it is a wired gamepad. Hold down the mode button and then one of the 2 rear buttons. I just accidentally hit this left one, so that's going to work. It's going to flash on the left side. If I did the right button, it'd be flashing on the right side. Press a concurrent face button, D-pad you would like to link, and then press the rear button again. It will exit remapping mode, so you need to re-enter it for the other side. Bam. These are a joy. I'm actually a pretty big fan of them. I'm going to give them an 8.5 out of 10, an 8.5 out of 10. Yeah, these are cash money. The software to control this controller, the application, if you will, you can get it in the Microsoft Store. There's 1 rating, but that rating was a 5-star, and it wasn't for me, the one very satisfied customer out there. I have it pinned down here to the taskbar for easy access. The reason that this only has 1 review is because this controller just came out, and this is a specific application for this one controller. This is not shared amongst other controllers, which I do like to see. You can set up profiles here. You can vibrates. I don't like the verbiage there. And then updates. We are up to date. Makes sense because this is a brand new controller. A couple things I do like about this application. You can full screen it. Also, I do like that you can control it with keyboard and mouse, as well as the buttons on the controller. Let's get into the profile section because that is the meat of this application. You have your default as well as 3 customizable profiles, and you cannot right click and rename them, but what you can do is put a description here. So that's technically your naming convention. Cool, let's configure profile 1. Pretty standard fanfare on this first page. This is going to be your button mappings for literally all of the buttons on the controller, front, back, side to side. You have your thumbsticks over here, which is going to be your thumbstick dead zone settings. So if you start to develop stick drift, bumping this up will make it to where you have larger dead zones. Your controller will be less responsive, but you will not be moving when you take your fingers off the sticks anymore. No more stick drift for you. If you wanted to be running 100% when you're only moving your stick halfway, then you would bump down this outer or maximum. What you're going to want to do here is bump this down to its lowest value, and most likely your character is going to be moving on screen just a little bit, at least with potentiometer thumbstick modules. Then you bump it up 1 notch at a time until that movement completely stops on screen. Where you feather on the thumbsticks, take your fingers off, movement stops, but you want the lowest possible dead zone or initial here. 2 very unique options involving the D-pad. You can swap the left stick and D-pad and also lock out the diagonal inputs of the D-pad to where you just have a 4-way. Very nice. Triggers, you do have your minimum and maximum dead zones, which you can set up, and you can also turn on and off that hair trigger mode, which you can also do on the fly. This controller does have vibration in the palms, rumble force motors, but no mini vibrations in the triggers. And you have full control of your RGB lighting here. You have 4 different animations or modes, and you can also set up presets over here. Set the speed. If you don't want to be disoriented, I would set that to one of its lower values. And then brightness, if you're playing in a very dark room, your controller's scorching your corneas, maybe bump that down to about 30%. And then you have audio reactive mode. Something to note, this controller doesn't have a microphone built on board or anything, so you'd have to have headphones plugged into the 3.5mm jack with a microphone, and that's how it's going to do the audio reactive, because as you can see, I'm talking right now, ain't nothing happening. Also, something else to note while I'm on the topic of that 3.5mm jack, it is completely disabled when playing via X input on PC, which is crazy because that's the golden standard on PC and has been for like a decade. You can force this into D input if you are using an older launcher or game. X input comes with a lot of perks, benefits, increased responsiveness. It's the modern standard for controllers on PC, and if you're using that, you're not going to have use of your 3.5mm headphone jack. Not a huge deal if you're using a wireless headset with a dongle or something. And then raise to wake up, since this does have motion sensing or gyroscope, if you pick the controller up, it will actually wake it up. And then if you're not using this controller, you're not moving it, you've set it down, and also no buttons are being pressed, you can set up a time limit. And this is awesome because I have heard a good amount of comments down there in the section below talking about gyroscope or motion aiming, and this is a full suite of that right here, where you can set up a response curve for your motion sense aiming, your gyroscope aiming, which is sick. Lovely. So if you are a fan of the gyroscope motion aiming, as I've discovered a lot of you are from the comment section, this is a full control suite for it. This is a pretty goddamn good application. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Repeat, a 9 out of 10. Now, I'm a real stickler for the rules, and generally during a controller review, we measure the stock input lag or delay via X input test. Wasn't able to do that here considering ReWAS, the DS4 Windows, DSX. None of those programs that allow you to spoof the PC into thinking it's an Xbox 360 controller actually worked with this, considering it is based on the Switch platform, which has the least compatibility with PC, unfortunately, compared to the other platforms. But if anyone's able to successfully measure the polling rate of this controller, please explain how you were able to do so and list your results down there in the comment section. I'll pin the comment and then I will test it myself and then upload one of those vertical short form videos that all the kids like to do, the TikToks and the Vines and all that stuff. Vine's a relic, but you get it. Quickly showing you the results of me doing it on my end so we can all confirm that, yep, that it does work. And along those lines, since I can't measure the refresh rate or polling rate, I'm not even going to bother overclocking. You know, who cares if you can overclock if you can't measure the results? You don't know if it actually took effect or not. It might actually have adverse effects, might be causing some consistency issues where you're getting false actuations and whatnot. So the verdict, this is a kick-ass option if you are on PC. I will say it is unfortunate that we're only getting these magnetic Hall effect options on Switch as opposed to PlayStation and Xbox. And I want to make this very clear, I will never use this controller on Switch. I did for the purpose of reviewing it, but it is a wired controller. In my opinion, when I'm playing on console, the convenience of going wireless is massive because generally in a console environment, you're playing in a living room, sitting on a couch relatively far away from your TV, or laying back in bed in your bedroom. 2 scenarios you really don't want a cord, especially if you got kids or pets running around. Not to mention the whole input lag and delay thing. We've already tested on the channel Bluetooth, 2.4 gigahertz wireless dongles, the Xbox wireless adapter. Some of those wireless technologies are not much slower than a wired connection. But since this is a wired only controller, I will not be using it on Switch, but I have no issue going wired on PC since you're already sitting right there at your PC tower. And generally I'm playing competitive games at my PC where I want the lowest input lag possible, not those console exclusives that I like to kick back with in the living room after a long day's editing. However, it's good to see more controllers of any platform coming out with magnetic Hall effect modules because it makes it more common, and hopefully eventually that does become the norm. We've seen it with TV technology, with CRT and then LCD and then OLED, and I genuinely do hope that magnetic Hall effect thumbstick modules are going to become the norm sooner rather than later. Drop in the comment section below your opinion of this controller. It is linked in the description below if you want to check it out, and I'll see you Stallions and Stallionettes tomorrow. Peace. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at GamerHeaven. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. To get in touch with myself and the Stallions and Stallionettes of GamerHeaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv where I go live every other leap year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number, and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding, starting June I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting GamerHeaven, and I'll see you tomorrow because I upload daily, all the time, 60% of the time, sometimes, most of the time. Peace.